Welcome to the first, not the first day, welcome to Maker Camp. There's so much for you to see.
Today's guest, we're going to have New York City bike messenger Austin Horst, also a cycling champion. He has a DIY bicycle shed. It's really exciting. He basically helps engage the community and young cyclists so they can learn how to repair and maintain bicycles on their own.
We also have another amazing guest, Steve Davee, and he's brought on Aiden, and we're going to go ahead and meet them. He's part of Maker Education, but we also have a bike-powered tinkering studio, and today's project is making your bike glow using EL wire.
And we will visit with Sam and Joe in their little special corner. So let's get excited and get ready to make something great.
Thank you so much for joining us during Makers in Motion Week. I'm Camp Director Paloma.
And I'm Camp Director Burke. We're really excited to have you here today, tomorrow, and the next 5 weeks of Maker Camp. So remember, the great thing about the internet is it's a two-way street. If you have any questions or comments you'd like to submit, head on over to the Google Plus Maker Camp community page and submit them. We'll answer those a little bit later in the show.
And if you want to possibly appear live with us in the future, you can go to makercamp.com and submit the form.
But right now, before we meet today's guests, let's head on over to our camp counselors and see what project they're working on.
Hello, Counselor Brian.
How you doing?
Hi. So today we are working on the glow bike. So we want to see what you guys have been working on besides the glow bike, as well as projects and things like that throughout the summer. So take pictures and video of what you guys are working on, post them to our community page, and show us what you've made, what you've learned, and what you want to make next. So the project today is the glow bike, but you can do anything to your bike. You can yarn bond it, feather bow it, or wrap it in foil. The glow bike is a great project for the maker of any skill level. With the kit that you can buy from the Maker Shed, has everything you need with no soldering at all. But if you want to attach multiple strands of EL wire together, there is some soldering, which after this hangout, keep an eye out for the link for the next hangout, and I'll show you how to solder these EL wire strips together.
Yeah, I've done that before, and it is definitely a little bit challenging, but once you get that skill down, you can have some really cool effects on your bike.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, keep in mind, folks, we want to see your pictures and videos. We're really excited to see them. So as you work on that project, go ahead and upload them. We're excited to see how they go.
Yeah, I have been trolling the Google Plus community page, and there are so many cool things that you guys have been doing. I love the stomp rockets, and there were some great videos of the claws from yesterday's hangout. So thank you so much for posting those. I am +1ing those like crazy and commenting on them. And my favorite thing I saw yesterday was somebody commented that they were making the project, and they said, "We failed. We had so many issues with this." And I was like, "But you tried so hard." They just kept trying different things. They finally got it to work. So I'm so happy to see how you guys are, involving yourselves on the community page. Keep it up. I love it. We love it. So I'm so excited to see what you post today. And also, I want to bring in our first guest. I'm so excited to meet this guest. It is Austin Horst. He's so interested in bikes, like all of our guests and us today. He is a bike messenger, and he does competitions all over the world. He does writing and repairing. He's interested in bike culture and advocacy, and he's going to show us how to get our bikes ready this summer. So, Austin, thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thanks for having me, guys. It's good to be here.
Now, Austin, we've been hearing all about wonderful accomplishments and exploits that you have. You're a competitive cyclist, championship winning, and you're incredibly active in your community, engaging young cyclists and showing them how to build and maintain their bikes. Why don't you give us some details on that and how you combine all those aspects of your lives together?
Well, living in New York City, there's a couple ways to live, but the way that makes the most sense is to use a bike for as much stuff as possible. And so it's just really become a central part of my life because it's the most sensible way to get around. I have this organization called Bike Yard with my partner Keegan Steffen, and we are a bicycle trailer-based repair shop, and so we can go around all neighborhoods in New York City and educate people about bike repair, help them keep their bikes running. As far as my competitive side, Last year I was the Cycle Messenger World Champion, and then also I won Gravel Worlds. I just recently got back from Mexico City, where I slipped the second best bike messenger in the world, which is good. And yeah, it's just wonderful. I have a good life.
That's so cool. I don't think I could ever be a bike messenger. I'd be way too scared to like just go in between all those cars. I'm such a wuss. So I respect that immensely.
It's the Star Wars trench run every day. That's what
Seriously,
it is.
I can't even imagine that. But I'm really curious because I mean this is a crazy thing to get into. Where did your passion for riding and being a bike messenger and having this crazy obsession with bikes, where did that all start and come from?
Well, so when I was in high school, I got really into mountain bikes, and I was able to get a job at a bike shop when I turned 16, and so we'd have some of the local messengers come around, and that was kind of like, oh really, I can just get paid to ride my bike. That's pretty cool. And then when I moved to New York City, it was the most logical thing for me to do, and it's been really good ever since. But yeah, I think there's a certain, you were talking about not being comfortable in like heavy traffic. You do have to be very aware of your position and feel comfortable on your bike. But I find that the congestion in New York City actually makes me more comfortable to ride here than in the suburbs, where I might be passed by a car going 60 miles an hour really close to me. That to me is much worse than riding in a congested city.
Yeah, that's actually a really, really good point. I remember riding in the suburbs, and there was that added fear factor because it's not speed that's dangerous, it's the difference in speed that's really dangerous. So the nice thing about commuting in the city is that everyone's not going much faster than you are, and you can maintain pace better. Now, Austin, why don't you tell us more about this bike yard? It sounds like an amazing project, and I really love how this is engaging skills within the community and getting people really active about DIY cycling.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, I've been involved with the bike co-op in New York for almost 10 years, and one of our things that we would struggle with constantly was stuff like rent and real estate, because it's New York, so you have to. It's expensive here. Space is expensive, so that was an issue. And then on top of that, we would be confined to really just like one or two neighborhoods where we had a base of operations. But with this trailer-based setup, it's something that we can take anywhere, and so I'm really stoked on that. What we've done stuff before. We've gone to events and had a mobile setup, but that's usually been a card table and a tote bag of tools, and it's been kind of sloppy. So I wanted to make something that was going to actually stand alone and be really, really solid, and something that I would want to work on, And it's a lot like it's basically like a shop in a box. I'm really happy with it.
Yeah, that's super cool.
So we fabricated the box part that sits on top of the trailer. The trailer chassis is the build trailer from Surly Bikes. It's a 63-inch long trailer, and our box is actually just bolted onto it. You can see in the video how one of the walls, it detaches and it becomes the back wall that we hang our tool roll. And that tool roll, the fabric there, it was actually sewn up by Chrome for me. And then we just got a basic shop toolkit that goes into that. And there's a few things that we've added because it's more important to have certain things in New York. You have a lot more older bikes here than you do in the rest of the country. A lot more 3-speeds and stuff like that. A lot of old caliper brakes where you need a specific type of tool, and so we've had to add to that. But it's pretty great.
Yeah, so that's really similar to a lot of what we see in the maker community of like a mobile maker space. It's like you can take it anywhere, you get to work. I mean, that's like the dream, is being able to make stuff wherever you go. I love that. But setting up your bike is like, it's different depending on what kind of riding you're doing. So I know that you have your bike with you. I want to know, how do you set up your bike for the kind of riding that you do? Daily?
Okay, I have it with me right here. Actually, this is a bike that I've had forever. I've raced it all around the world. I've used it in many different iterations. But right now, I pretty much have it set up for riding in the city, for working on or whatever. And I'll move this around and let everyone check it out more.
Awesome. I love the color too. Vibrant.
Yeah, so it's an orange bike. You said vibrant. Yeah, I picked this color because it's really bright and it looks cool.
Wow.
It's a fixed gear. I have this brake on it because it's important to have brakes on your bike always. You guys can hear me, right?
Yeah, you're good.
Coming in clear. Yeah.
All right, cool. But yeah, this bike comes from like a local shop here called Brooklyn Machine Works. So this was actually handmade in Brooklyn, just actually a couple blocks from my house, by a company that I've always really appreciated. I don't know how much. What else should I say about it? I like to have an easy gear for the street. So since it's a fixed gear, there's only one. There's only one gear, and I don't know if you can see it's the kind that.
What exactly is a fixed gear, and why is that good for riding in the street?
I'll come here to talk about that. What I do with the headphones.
The anticipation is killing me.
Oh yeah, we need to know. Also, while he's getting his headphone, I noticed the really beefy headset that he has on that bike. I kind of want to get one of those. I don't think that's ever gonna fall to pieces.
Yeah, because you need more bikes. What do you have, like 5 now?
Just a few.
I really identify with that bike because I'm not afraid of vibrant colors or I like being seen. So I definitely love that.
Of course
bike.
you like being seen.
Yeah. What?
What give that away?
Since the 90s. It's like a 16-year-old headset.
God, man, 16-year-old, and I'm sure it'll last another 40.
I hope so. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'll talk about fixed gears for a little bit because they're pretty cool. Probably most people are familiar with them, but in case you're not, they are the type of bike that doesn't have the ratchet built into the freewheel or the cassette. So with the gears, instead of being able to coast and have it make that clicking sound, it's just constantly in motion. If the wheel's in motion, then it's pushing or pulling the chain, and if that's happening, then the cranks are turning and your legs are turning. So the same thing. If your legs are moving either direction, the wheel's going to go either direction. And that's one of the fun ways. One of the ways that it's good for the city is that you have this subtle feedback that you can put into the bike with just your legs, and so it's actually a faster step than when you're riding, and it's easier to eat like a muffin or something while you're riding a bike, drink my coffee, to be able to have feedback with just my legs, and it's just a fun way to ride. So there's I think a whole subculture that's sprung up about it just because it is a really fun way to ride. Maybe not the most efficient, but fun.
So yeah, there's a better connection with your bike, and it also helps with grip, correct?
With what?
With having better grip. Yeah.
You can have like cornering with your traction. You are more directly connected to what's going on. So there are things that you can do that you can't really. You have to be more experienced on with handbrakes to be able to accomplish the same stuff.
Yeah, that's great. I love that you brought this on. And it seems, this is definitely something a lot of people, I think, in the Maker Camp community are definitely interested in bikes, but they haven't found, they have that bike mod passion, but they haven't gotten, as much into it. So I'm happy to have this here and have this on today.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we'll have
another good thing about these bikes is the cost. So since they're relatively simple, you can get something for about $600 is where a decent bike starts. And it's going to last you a long time. Whereas if you were to buy that in a road bike, it'd have a lot more parts that wouldn't last so long, and you wouldn't be as good off as you are with just this. And for getting around the city, you don't really need gears that much. So
that's absolutely true. Yeah.
I love the clicking sound. I'm a clicky person, so But I definitely got the appeal with the muffin and the coffee. Anything that involves me drinking coffee, I will be a part of that activity.
Yeah. Austin, I got another question. For those of you who, for our campers out there who might be interested in commuting to work and such, or even riding later in the evening at night, what sort of stuff do you bring? You have on your bike for later hours that would help for visibility and such?
Oh yeah, well lights are really important. And I should have them in my bag. Oops.
I'm sure a good bag to have. A good bag is important when you're riding too, because
Oh yeah.
yeah, I would just carry my purse and then be awkward as I'm riding.
This is just my work bag. I'm really partial to the reloads. They were kind of the first ones to start taking the shoulder bags and adapting them specifically for messenger use, so that they're more comfortable and you can put stuff in them more easily. And yeah, they're a Philadelphia-based company. It started out as two people just sewing. It's really cool, and now they're all over the world. But as for lights, cheap blinkies like this are great. They go on and off the handlebars really easy. So in a city like New York, I don't want to leave my bike. When I'm going in and out of buildings, I don't want to leave it with the lights on, because even if they're like a screw-on, they can still get stolen. So I just keep these until it's time to put them on. And then I also keep flat stuff. So I've got a little flat kit with a pump, a patch kit, and then a couple tubes.
That's a good bike pump. That's a really good bike pump.
It's tiny. It's great. Yeah.
It's nice and compact, and then you can turn it and it opens, and yeah, it works great. I've gotten out of many of jam with that bike pump, having it on.
Oh, you have this one too?
What?
Yeah, it's nifty.
Yeah.
We should get one of those for the lab. Our pumps are always breaking.
Yeah, pumps seem to have like a pretty short lifespan. The valves kind of give out, but you can usually replace the valves. On a lot of them are rebuildable. I'm waiting on some parts to rebuild a home floor pump it just started wheezing too much recently. That's what happens, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So outside my house, there's we chain up a pump for anyone in the neighborhood to use, and it's always broken. Or those don't last long at all. Man, that's always hurting. It's okay right now, but yeah, give it like 3 weeks, it'll be done.
You have to keep changing it all the time. Does it at least get a lot of use out there?
Yeah. People use it all the time. But then when it starts to go, I start to see people struggling with it, and maybe it'll let all the air out of their tire, and then they're worse off. And then it's really bad. So if I'm around, I have a pump indoors that it's the one that I need to rebuild, but it was like a solid pump, and so I'll be like, I got you. But when I'm not around, I feel bad. I don't know what's going on.
Oh
man.
So I have a question, because we have a lot of campers that are young. They're probably, most of their riding is probably done to or from school. Sometimes, in the winter months, it gets pretty dark super early. So what do you have, because we talked about bikes that come off, but what do you recommend for them for visibility, for keeping their bike safe and all of their? Because you talked about having lights that unscrew, but what else can you have that's geared more towards students coming home from school?
Oh, I don't know. Is this the segue to the awesome project that we're doing?
Well, I think we definitely talked about that earlier, but you could bring that up. That's another great idea.
Yeah, visibility of any kind is great, right?
Yeah, and definitely. It's the EO wire is something that is going to be super visible. It's really gonna shine out. But you mentioned, like, in the wintertime, not only does it get dark sooner, but also it can be wetter. So yeah. I don't have a fender on this bike right now because we're in a nice part of summer. But fenders just will change your world on a bike. If you are kind of like ambivalent about commuting, putting fenders on your bike is going to make you feel a lot more positive about it.
Great, that's a good idea.
And that's one of the most important parts. One of the more essential parts, I think, about riding that some people overlook is it's not just about having a bike and switching from that to your commute and that, but it's also the joy of riding. And doing what needs to happen to make that ride even more pleasurable. And yeah, fenders. I remember when I switched to fenders during one of the rainier seasons in Chicago, and day and night, I didn't have the rooster tail of dirt on me, and it felt great. It was no longer laborious. It was a pleasure to ride in that weather.
Yeah.
Well, I'm from Northern California, so I am used to perfectly wonderful wonderfully clear skies and very little rain. So I might have to be educated about that. But yeah, I'm used to really nice riding conditions.
But anyway, Austin, thank you so much for coming in and sharing with us this wonderful the bike building, you know, having it mobile, having be able to engage people on that level with, you know, just a very simple and elegant design. I love how it opens up. I love how it's compact at the same time. And you know, it certainly has that great trailer that they've been able to build on that. So Austin, thanks again. For those of you campers out there, keep posting your questions to our community page because we will be getting to them just shortly. Yeah,
thanks so much, Austin, and stay with us because we're going to have so many questions coming in for you. And now I want to introduce, I definitely want to introduce our next guest. I know this guest personally from working with us at Make. He does Maker Ed, but he also has a very similar project, the Tinkering Shed. So, Steve, welcome to Maker Camp.
Thank you, Paloma, and hello, Maker Campers. Coming to you from Oakland, California, the headquarters of the Maker Education Initiative, and I've brought with me my bike trailer, Tinkering Bike Trailer, which I made for the Portland Mini Maker Fair a number of years ago. It was kind of inspired by work that I did with students in tinkering. I used to be a math science teacher, and one of the projects that they made were go-karts and bike trailers, and I was kind of envious that I didn't have one of my own. So I made this in time to be a platform for air-launched creations for the PBX Mini Maker Fair a couple years ago, and since then it's been to several other maker fairs, including the East Bay Maker Fair, and it's been over to the Exploratory. I actually took that on by bike by a ferry across the bay. I thought it was going to be a car ferry, but it was a passenger ferry, and it took up so much room in the ferry they told me I couldn't go back, so sadly I had to bike it back, or a car it back. But we get into Maker Fair mode here. This is how much I love Maker Fair and the whole atmosphere of it. So the wonderful things about having this at Maker Fair is that I can change locations during the place, and I can bring different provocations to it. The kind of things that I like to include in this trailer often include the least expensive type of making we can think of, the kinds of stuff that people usually have, paper and tape and scissors and that sort of thing. With that, you can do air-launched creations, you can do art bots of different kinds, you can do woodworking on here and everything as well. So that's a little bit about that. Also, we'll be hearing from one of my former students, Aiden, in just a little bit, who will also share a little bit about our tinkering and camp experience.
That's awesome, man. You were just so prepared for this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, that is a. If you want, you could give us a brief overview of your setup right there, and give us some more details.
Let me show it off. I had to bring the orange bike. This was before I knew Austin was going to have an orange bike too. I love bikes so much. This is bike number 12.
Oh my God.
When I moved from Portland, I had to pare down my bike stable from 15. That was only possible because I was. Fortunately, in amateur racing, you can still get sponsorships, so I was able to get bikes inexpensively. And I would always buy cars that were far less expensive than my bikes. So that's how I survived in Portland. But funny thing is, when I first made this trailer and was biking it over to the Portland Mini Maker Fair, I got stopped about every other block by people that wanted to show me their homemade trailers. It's I was like, oh wait, of course, I'm in Portland. It's the #1 bike city in the nation by many metrics. It's not the only great bike city in the nation by all means, but it is a city where people want to do and build their own panniers, their own bike trailers and stuff like that. So what's interesting about this bike for me is that it was less than $80, including the most expensive component, which were $40 wheels. All the dimensions were 2 foot and 4 foot, so that you can get them cut pre-made if you don't have access to a table saw and everything. You can have the perf board there cut pre-made in Lowe's or Home Depot, that sort of thing. It's really built around a ladder. And the extension ladder allows a drawer. I'm going to talk loud because I'll move over here.
Go for it.
This drawer right here will pull out, allow for storage. It goes in for compact use. The connection to the bike is oftentimes the biggest barrier when you make your own homemade bike trailers. And through several different iterations, I finally got through using electrical conduit that I bent using the bender that you can get in the aisles of Home Depot. So I actually didn't have to buy the expensive bender. I just bought the conduit, put it over, put the bend in there. And then the actual hose connection to the bike is radiator hose, which takes care of some of the slop and flexibility in the connection. It allows the trailer to have some independence from the bike. If you don't have a flexible connection of some sort, it can be very dangerous to have a bike to be connected to a trailer on a bike. It can cause you to lose control, those sorts of things. So you need to consider the handling of the trailer for its safety. Other aspects, it has in the past had fold-down table components to it. I can put different tools on it. Now I just got scissors. It's got places to fold paper. I put just a sampling materials on here on the surface, but it's really fun. People give you some pretty good looks when you bike it around.
Yeah, I bet you do. And so we've got some pictures here that we're going to go ahead and look at of your trailer. So why don't you tell us what we're looking at here?
Yeah, so this was made at ADX Portland, which is a co-working kind of hacker makerspace in Portland. And what we're looking at right here is the initial stretch out, build around, fit on the wood part sitting, actually being suspended from the ladder, the extension ladder that I got surplus for like $10. So let's see what else we're seeing here. That's my friend Matt Beach, and I should give a shout out to him. He's the one who helped me make it in the first place. But it was nice to have a friend to help out make this, and then I finished it up, and I've tweaked it several times since. You can see this is at the Portland Mini Maker Fair. You can see it's all set up for air-launched creations. I like to use that term, air-launched creations, rather than rockets, because then you get all sorts of variety. You don't have one sort of set template or one sort of set thing that is responding to the air coming out of the launcher. So these are, this is when I used it for my after-school tinkering workshops at Opal School in Portland, Oregon, as a woodworking station. And it also helped me be able to rapidly deploy my tinkering materials. I wouldn't say rapidly, actually. It takes a long time to have a mobile tinkering setup. What else do we have here? Oh yeah, this is at the East Bay Mini Maker Fair. That was wonderful because I had a couple of actual middle school children, boys, take over the operations of the trailer for me. They were so enthused. And so for hours and hours, this was the thing they decided to do. For 5 hours during the Maker Fair, they did nothing but help people out with launching air-launched creations and stick around this trailer. I was able to loan them the air launchers they took it to their school and did it as part of a fair. So this is the same compressed air launcher that Rick Schertl has shared on Make magazine several times and on the Make blog.
Yeah, I've used that one with some elementary school kids, and it always is a huge hit. Everyone loves it. And that's actually a really great thing to add on to our day one project with the Stomp rockets. So that's a really great way, so you don't have to jump on a bottle every time. You can just press a button and you feel really like maniacal. You're just like, yeah, boom.
It's nice. You know, the first one that I had was PVC, and it was made with help from Aiden that we'll see in a few minutes. And other students have made different variations. I got a total of 4. Some of them are made out of galvanized metal, some of them black pipe. Those end up being kind of steampunky looky or diesel punky. They rust. They look really cool, but they're very hard to seal if you try to make the compressed launchers out of. You have to double wrap with Teflon and really get plumbing tools to tighten the connection strongly. But they do make for really impressively cool looking air launchers.
Well, that's great, yeah. And actually, since we were just talking about some of the people that you were engaging on there, and just before we talk with one of the young makers, Aiden, we have some pictures of the tinkering shed in action. So
this is tinkering camp. This started a number of years ago in Portland in the backyard. So if you want to host something, sometimes you can get away with it in your backyard. This is Aiden, actually. You'll see with her fellow her friends planning the design of a go-kart. In this photo, they're using chalk. The people used it on paper. This is another tinkering student spray painting her go-kart. These kids were given the materials and tools and time and the freedom to design their own go-karts and bike trailers. And so here you can see them doing the jigsaw after having planned out the dimensions of their go-kart. Here's a bike trailer that uses wooden crutches as the railings, and that's Aiden sitting on there making that right there. That was really hilarious. I didn't imagine those when I brought them to the camp that they'd be used in that way, but it was really neat. You can bake these bike trailers really cheaply out of a lot of surface materials. Here we see Aiden and another student testing it on a small little hill. You can do this safely on grass, wear helmets. Go-karts are kind of flip-out parents sometimes, but really you can do them safely with a moderate hill, and it's still super fun, as Aiden will attest. Here's a student who's crashing in bushes, and Aiden's helping her out. But you can see this didn't dampen her enthusiasm in the next slide. Well, that was left out. But anyway, here they are. This is just the joy of simply running down the street with something you've made that rolls, and it's fun. It really feels very empowering, as Aiden will attest to, when you've made your own something that rolls and you can just push it. It's just gravity, or just your friends power it. So.
Right, and yeah, and I think we can hear a good testimony of that from Aiden right now. If we can talk with Aiden,
Yeah,
she can give us a
let's bring on
breakdown
Aiden.
of the stuff that she's made and how that affected her.
Yeah, hi Aiden. It's so great to have you with us today.
Hi. Yeah, I actually, since Steve moved out of our basement, I haven't had as much time to build stuff or as much materials to build stuff as I would like, because he took all of the tools because they were his.
Oh, jerk.
I know. Our basement used to be filled with just all this random stuff and tools to build stuff, so I could just kind of go down there and raid it and build whatever I wanted. One day, it was after tinkering camp for a while, it was a while after, I think this was like last year or something, I just felt like building something, so I went out, grabbed a piece of wood, wrote "climb me" on it, and drilled it to a tree. It's still there.
I love that.
It's still there. It's a wonderful invitation. Yeah.
Although the tree's a little dangerous and scratchy, so...
Well, Aiden, why don't you tell us about some of your experiences with this and share with us some of your favorite moments?
So, I really, really liked building the go-karts because just, as Steve said, there was a whole bunch of materials he didn't think we would use in the ways we did. So, on the go-kart that me and my friends built, there was an old unicorn head on it, if you didn't notice. And the story of that is when I was younger, I don't know, probably like 5 or something, it was like one of the only times I ever bought a Halloween costume. I bought this like Pegasus unicorn costume, and so I hadn't used it in a really long time, and it was like pink and fuzzy and had this like rainbow colored mane, and we thought it would look really, really awesome with the unicorn head on the go-kart, and it did.
Correct.
Yeah, I think at one point we were trying to add the wings on there too because it was a Pega unicorn. And I just, this wasn't actually at Tinkering Camp, but this was a project in school in 4th grade. We were making these like boxes we had this decade project where we researched a decade, and the people with like the 2 closest decades to you all worked together and added something from your decade. This is when I went to Opal School, and Steve was one of my teachers, and we were building these boxes and painting them, right? And so everyone was having trouble with the drills, so I just kind of got up on the table and started drilling. Everyone's like losing control of the drills, but benefits of living with Steve, I learned how to use a drill when I was like 9 or something.
Oh yeah.
That's actually a really good point I wanted to ask you about, Aiden, is for a lot of our campers out there, some of them might not have put something together and this might be the first time that they might be using a drill or the first time they might be using a power tool. What would you say to campers that are younger campers who have not done that yet? What would you say that you wish you knew at that time?
Well, I think probably that power tools aren't actually as scary as you might think, as long as you know, like, are being safe around them. If you have longer hair, put your hair back, wear safety goggles, and just kind of put a lot of pressure on the top of the drill, maybe more than you might think you need, because if you are balancing out your weight and putting your weight on top of the drill with your hand, it'll keep the drill stable and let it do what you want it to do.
That's a great point. Yeah. We'll have to go ahead and get you a hair tie so the next time you use a drill. So you know what? I really appreciate that you're here to talk to us, because it's great to get the perspective of a young maker. I mean, we've definitely got the perspective of an old maker over here. So it's great to bring on someone who's younger, along the age of the campers, who can really allow us to have that insight. And I bet that the campers are going to have a lot of questions for you too, because they want to know what you've built and your perspective on things. So campers, prepare your questions for Aiden, because this is a great resource for getting started with building and getting over your fears, I think, for sure. But I am so excited to bring on our next segment. We are bringing on our weekly trip to Sam and Joe's Corner. We're going to talk about servos and one of the most ambitious Maker Faire projects ever.
That's right, really ambitious. So if you're some Battlestar Galactica fans out there, it's time to get ready to spool up the FTLs. We're going to go jump on my mark. So counting down with us. 3, 2, 1, jump.
Hey guys, I'm Sam. And I'm Joe. Our family's been making it together for years, and this summer we'll be producing short videos that demonstrate some of the tips and tricks we've developed, as well as show you guys some cool weekend projects you can do at home.
Shortened versions of the episodes will appear weekly on MakerCamp, and a link to the longer episodes will be provided.
We hope you enjoy.
This week we'll be talking about servos, since they're an essential part to making things that involve motion. Specifically, servos are used to control the orientation or position of the moving part.
A servo is basically a term for any system that has three parts. The first is something that moves, so that's either a motor or a piston. The second is something that can sense that motion, so that's like a shaft encoder. And the third is some type of control system that brings those previous two parts together. A good example of a servo is a component called the servo motor, which is commonly found in RC vehicles. This RC car uses a servo motor right here to control the rack and pinion steering of the wheels. And it has all three components wrapped up into one package. It has a motor, which is the moving part. It has a shaft encoder, which senses the movement of the motor. And it also has some logic to determine when the motor should be on based on what the shaft encoder senses.
While it can be nice to have all three components built into one unit, sometimes it's better to build your own servo from scratch.
As an example of this, back in 2012 we built the Viper, which is a flight simulator that used two servos that we built ourselves. Just to go over the three components really quick, this is the motor, this is what actually moves the simulator. This is the shaft encoder here, and then all of the control happens on a laptop.
So then the data from the shaft encoder is sent over to this computer, and a program running on it compares where the motor should be and where the shaft encoder says the motor is. Then, looking at this comparison, it changes the motor speed to try to match the two. Now, obviously, this is a very complex example of how to use servos, and it is the biggest project we've worked on. However, it does go to show how servos can be useful for anything as small as a remote control car to a flight simulator.
As Joe was saying, this project is incredibly complicated, but future episodes will cover weekend projects you can do at home, and also we'll teach you guys some tips and tricks which you can use to make a variety of different things. I'm Sam.
I'm Joe, and we'll see you guys next week.
Campers. Yeah, if you want to check out any more of that Sam and Joe's video, feel free to go to the MakerCamp Google Plus community page where we posted a link for a full-length video. And right now we're coming back here. We've talked to Austin Horse in New York City. We have talked with Steve and Aiden, and we're basically discussing a lot about DIY building sheds for bikes and stuff.
I'm excited. This has been so fun.
And that means if we're excited, that you guys have to be excited out there.
How could you not be?
Yeah, so why don't we go to the counselors and see what kind of questions you have out there and see if we can answer some of them for you.
All right, Brian, what do we got?
So Rita's asking a question for Austin. How does a fixed gear work?
All right, and I'm unmuted. Sorry, guys.
No worries.
Well, it's actually kind of the first bike. The first safety bicycle was a fixed gear. So it's more like how does everything else work because it's technology that's been added to the fixed gear. So when you think of a normal bike, you think of something that has had more technology put on it. Inside, like if you have a BMX bike, it's probably got a freewheel. And so the freewheel will have pawls and springs and kind of notches built into that. And so that's what makes that clicking sound. And that's what allows it to, it engages, basically it engages on little ramps inside that mechanism, inside the freewheel. When you don't have that mechanism, you just have a cog, you just have a piece of metal with teeth on it, threaded on directly onto the hub, and then locked on there with another piece of a lock ring. And so if that cog is turning, because it's fixed to the hub is turning. If the hub is turning, then that cog is turning. So it's really just that the way that it works is that it's the first thing that worked. And it turns, and if it's turning, the drivetrain is turning. If the drivetrain is stopped, then the hub is stopped.
That's a great question. That's a great question coming in, and a really good answer.
Yeah,
it's a
wonderful breakdown right there.
Yeah, so as your feet move, it's just like that exact analog for that wheel turning. So I think that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Brian, what else do we got from these campers?
So we have a question for Aiden from Robbie. Robbie asks, what do you plan to do in the future, like making things like that?
Well, if I have free time in my schedule next year, I'm definitely joining Stagecraft because I haven't had as much access to stuff that I can build as easily. And I really, really miss using power tools and drills because it's been far too long. So, I mean, with any hope, so we built this towering fort in my backyard, Steve and I did, that was supposed to take 3 weeks and cost $150. It ended up taking like 3 years and costing like $1,500 or over. So it's this awesome fort, but we haven't really been able to keep up with maintenance as well, and it's getting a little loose, and my mom says it blocks her son on the new deck. So it's been up since I was in 3rd grade, so it's had a nice life, like 6 years. And so if Steve can make it up here, we're going to probably take it down in August-ish. So it'll be fun to take down, but I'll also miss it because it's a really fun place to hang out. So I think that other than taking that down, I do a lot of music now as far as creative outlets go. I don't get to do as much building just because of access to stuff. So I do a lot of building, or not building. I can imagine building. I do a lot of acting. I do a lot of singing. I do musical stuff, and I draw.
And photography.
Don't you do?
Oh yeah,
Come
photography. I forgot. Yeah. I do black and white photography. I do darkroom photography and digital photography, and that kind of started with Steve actually, because when I was younger, he let me use his really nice camera. Also, I'm really, really immune to people taking pictures of me all the time, because Steve would do that every single day, all day at school.
That was my role, and I first met Aiden when she was in preschool, and it was part of my job as a documentation specialist at this school to capture children's work, and since every classroom had making in it every single day for all subjects, Aiden's got a lot of pictures of her making things all day long in school, from preschool all the way through to 5th grade.
That sounds so cool. I want to. Okay, can we pass for kids so that we can go to that school?
Yeah, pretty much. I could, shrink down a bit.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, you just have to shave, and then you'll be fine.
Shave a lot. No one will notice.
Yeah, no, you'll be fine. But man, talking about all the things that you make, I feel so untalented now. Quick, let's get a hobby.
Yeah.
Let's go right now.
We're gonna have to ramp it up at some point.
I know. Jeez Louise.
We're all one-trick ponies.
Yeah,
here.
we just sit here and talk and look pretty.
Yeah.
So Brian, we're gonna go to
we do
another.
It well.
I know. Brian, we're gonna go to another question because we cannot steal all of the time here. We need to get more questions from the campers. So Brian, give us another great one.
So this is a question for Steve from Chris. Do you go to every maker fair? What's your favorite maker project?
Ooh, good question.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I go to as many that I can. Fortunately, part of my job is helping to run the educational cafe and stage at the Maker Faire, so I get to go to the major ones for that. And I try to hit as many mini Maker Fairs as I can, too, because there's a very personal and close connection to communities with those that I find very, very awesome. Favorite maker projects are usually those that are, you get so inspired you just can't stop thinking about them. The tower in our backyard was built because I saw at a Maker Faire in 2008 this galvanized tower that was sort of geodesic and tubular. I like high places, and the idea of actually being able to build a high place was really appealing to me. I also used to make a lot of tree forts as a kid, so anytime I see something built tall, I get really excited about that. I like heights.
That's great. Yeah, there's some really great giant things at Maker Fairs. I mean, not even just the big ones, but at some of the mini Maker Fairs, you can see some really amazing giant art sculptures. And I mean, I'm biased because I get to go to the flagship fairs at San Mateo. So you see the big old Burning Man ones with like the octopus shooting flames and the horse head made out of tires. There's some really cool.
Those big scale projects are really cool, but what is really best about Maker Faire are the ones that engage kids. When I go to a fair, I look for where are the kids going and where are they staying, and oftentimes they're given a chance to take something apart, or make something, or tinker, or explore, or learn a skill like soldering. So it's those actual hands-on engagement experiences that I find the most endearing about Maker Faire, and the kids just want to stay there. So.
Definitely. I was a part of one where we did some Maker Camp stuff in New York, and we were just allowing kids to come up and make whatever they wanted. And first of all, what they made was a mess, but they also made some amazing stuff. They took LEDs, put them on batteries, and I mean, we didn't even have any instructions for them. We just said go, and they made the coolest stuff. And it was constantly busy with kids all day, and you got to see, like, people were making wallets, they made everything, and it was just super cool. I absolutely love the hands-on building stuff at Maker Faire when we get to participate. Oftentimes I'm sitting there and talking all day, but it's really great when we get to, you know, meet campers and be able to, like, really interact with them. Also, like, I really love when the campers come up and say hi. So campers, if you see me at a Maker Faire, come and say hi, because I want to give you a super awesome high five, the highest of fives. And you know what? I could sit here and I literally could talk bikes and projects and Maker Faire with you guys all day, because you're all amazingly interesting. I could have an hour-long show with each of you.
For weeks, really.
Yeah, we'll just never leave. Isn't that cool? No, we have to wrap it up? Okay, dang it. But I just want to thank everyone. I mean, Austin, thank you so much for coming today. The bikes are just so cool, and I've really appreciated hearing from you. And Steve and Aiden, you guys are so inspiring, and I want to go build stuff and be in plays and do photography and do all of the things and make my own mobile makerspace. Let's do that right now.
Yeah,
Let's go.
we're just going to make Maker Camp on mobile. We're going to ride bikes the whole time.
Yeah, we'll just get GoPros.
We'll have the tech figured out by tomorrow, I'm sure, right?
Well, they'll do it. We'll put it on them.
We'll work it through. It's absolutely fantastic. Austin, it was great to talk with you, and I hope I get to see you at Maker Faire New York by chance. Maybe have a little bit of a plug there. It would be great to hang out with you.
Let's not give him a choice. You're coming.
We're
going to hang out with you there.
Yeah, absolutely. And really excited to have these makers engaged and everything. And yeah, just try something new. To go out there and experiment and make a mess, clean up the mess, and then fix it, and get really active in all of it. But, this is about all the time we have for today right now. However, we got an exciting event for you tomorrow because we are going on a field trip.
Yay!
Field trip
Our
for
first
Maker
field
Camp.
trip.
We're going to be doing that with Google Treks.
Yeah, I'm very excited for that. And remember to check out the Hangout after the show to figure out how to solder EL wire, which is a little tough, but you can do it. I believe in you.
Yeah.
And check out the longer version of Sam and Joe's Corner on the Maker Camp Google Plus community page.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? If you were inspired, like we were, by anything you saw on the show today, remember, do try this at home.
Yeah.
Bye, campers.
Take care until tomorrow.